Your mind is your greatest weapon, but it can also be your greatest enemy if you allow it to drift without direction. Every single day you are training your brain, whether you are aware of it or not. Most people let the world, society, and random distractions train their brain for them, and then they wonder why they feel weak, lost, or unfocused. The truth is simple: you are wiring your brain daily. The real question is, are you wiring it for discipline, clarity, and mastery, or for weakness, doubt, and fear? What I am about to share with you are 10 powerful practices that will help you rewire your brain every single day. If you apply them, your life will not just change slightly, it will transform completely, because once the mind is mastered, everything else follows. 1. Rule your morning before the world rules you. The first hours of your day are the foundation upon which the entire day is built. Think of your morning like the opening moves in a chess game. If you play them carelessly, you set yourself up for weakness and struggle. But if you play them with strategy and discipline, you create strength, clarity, and momentum that carry through every decision that follows. When you wake up, your brain is not yet filled with the weight of the day, and in that fragile state, it is at its most impressionable. Scientists call this the theta brainwave state, where the mind is like soft clay, ready to be shaped, molded, and trained. If the first thing you do upon waking is grab your phone, scroll endlessly, and flood your mind with noise, notifications, and distractions, you surrender your inner command before you have even left your bed. Instead of being the master of your day, you instantly become a servant to the world's demands, and everything that follows will feel reactive rather than intentional. But if you choose to rise with purpose, your entire system shifts. Begin with your breath. A few slow, intentional breaths tell your nervous system that you are in control, not chaos. Move your body, even if only for a few minutes, because motion awakens energy and reminds your brain that the day is not something to fear, but something to engage with. Feed your mind with something that strengthens it, whether that is a moment of silence, a powerful thought, an uplifting passage, or even a clear vision of what you want to accomplish. This simple practice sends a signal to your brain. I decide the tone of this day, not the world outside. When you take command of your mornings, your brain begins to expect discipline, clarity, and strength. Every action you take in those early moments reinforces neural pathways that tell your mind you are in charge. And as the hours unfold, that sense of command lingers like armor. The man who loses his mornings to noise and distraction finds himself wandering through the day without direction, always reacting, always chasing. But the man who masters his mornings becomes untouchable. He carries a sense of calm power into every challenge, because his mind was trained before the world ever had a chance to attack. To rule your morning is to declare to yourself and to life, I will lead today, not follow. 2. Feed your brain with what you want to become. Your brain is like a fertile field, always ready to grow something. Whatever you plant in it, whether it is wisdom, strength, or weakness, will eventually take root and shape who you are. Every single day, without even realizing it, you are feeding your mind. The music you listen to, the conversations you have, the books you read, the videos you watch, and the people you surround yourself with, these are all nutrients for your brain. If you consume garbage, your brain will grow weeds. But if you consume power and clarity, your brain will grow strength. This is why it is so important to consciously choose what you allow inside. Many people underestimate how deeply their daily environment programs them. They think watching a meaningless video, listening to gossip, or filling their head with negativity won't matter. But every small input is like a drop of water. Over time, those drops carve rivers in the mind. If you are not careful, you will find your thoughts, your emotions, and even your actions being dictated by influences you never even intended to absorb. The truth is simple: if you surround yourself with weakness, you become weak. If you surround yourself with strength, wisdom, and greatness, you naturally begin to embody those qualities without forcing them. This is why I have always said, be ruthless with what you allow into your mind. Just as you would not eat spoiled food because you know it would poison your body, do not consume mental poison because it will weaken your brain and destroy your focus. If you constantly expose yourself to anger, laziness, or doubt, your brain wires itself to live in those emotions. But if you flood your mind with powerful knowledge, with lessons of discipline, with examples of greatness, your brain begins to align itself with that energy. What you watch, what you hear, what you repeat, these things become the seeds of your future. Your brain is a mirror. It reflects what you place before it. If you spend your time feeding it distractions, then your life will become a reflection of distraction. If you feed it strength, then strength will flow out of you in your actions, in your decisions, and in your presence. The man who wants to become a warrior must surround himself with thoughts of warriors. The man who wants to master peace must fill his mind with teachings of peace. The man who wants success must feed his brain with the habits, stories, and wisdom of those who have achieved success. Every day, ask yourself, what am I feeding my mind right now? Is it leading me closer to the man I want to become, or is it pulling me further away? If you do not control your mental diet, the world will feed you junk and leave you weak. But if you consciously nourish your mind with wisdom, clarity, and strength, you will rewire your brain into the very shape of the person you dream of becoming. 3. Practice focus, like it is a muscle. Focus is not something you are simply born with, and it is not something that appears when you suddenly need it. Focus is a skill, a discipline, and most importantly, a muscle. Just like your arms or legs grow stronger when you train them against resistance, your ability to concentrate grows sharper when you train it against distraction. Yet in the modern world, the majority of people live with a weak mind, constantly jumping from one thought to another, unable to hold their attention on anything for more than a few moments. They scroll, they switch, they multitask, and all the while they are training their brain to be restless. Without realizing it, they are wiring their minds for weakness. But if you want to rewire your brain for mastery, you must reclaim your focus. Understand this. Wherever your attention goes, your energy flows, and wherever your energy flows, your life grows. If your attention is scattered across endless noise, then your life will also feel scattered, fragile, and directionless. But if your attention is disciplined, concentrated, and fully under your command, then your life becomes aligned, powerful, and unstoppable. Focus is not just about doing one thing at a time. It is about proving to yourself that your mind listens to you, not the other way around. The way to build focus is not by wishing for it, but by training it daily. Start small because, like any muscle, it must first be awakened. Take 10 minutes every day where you give your full concentration to one task. It might be reading a page of a book with complete attention, practicing a movement with total presence, or sitting in silence observing your breath. In those 10 minutes, you make a promise to yourself that nothing will break your focus. At first, your brain will fight back. It will pull you toward distraction. It will scream for comfort. It will try to escape. But this is where you grow stronger. Each time you refuse to give in, you are carving new pathways in your brain, teaching it obedience and discipline. Over time, expand that practice. From 10 minutes, grow into 30, then an hour. Push your brain further, just as you push your muscles with heavier weight. Soon, you will notice a change. The noise of the world will no longer shake you so easily. While others are scattered, unable to stay present, you will remain calm and unbroken, like a mountain standing in the middle of a storm. This ability to control your focus is one of the most powerful weapons you can ever build, because a man who can hold his attention where he chooses can create anything he desires. Think of it like this. When a beam of light is scattered, it illuminates but cannot burn. But when that same light is focused into a laser, it cuts through steel. Your mind is no different. Scattered thoughts make you busy but ineffective. Focused thoughts make you unstoppable. That is why I say, train your focus like you would train your body. Do not let it wander without command. Teach it to obey. Make it stronger every day, because the man who controls his focus controls his destiny. 4. Challenge your mind daily. A mind that is never tested becomes dull, just as a body that never moves becomes weak. Most people live in comfort, repeating the same routines, consuming the same shallow information, and avoiding anything that feels difficult. They confuse comfort with peace, but in truth, comfort without challenge is decay. The brain, like the muscles of your body, thrives on resistance. When it is stretched, it adapts. When it is challenged, it grows stronger. When it is forced to work harder than it did yesterday, it rewires itself to a higher level of clarity and strength. This is why you must make it a practice to challenge your mind every single day. Think of it this way: if you lift no weight, your body becomes soft and fragile. But if you lift something heavy, your muscles respond by tearing slightly and then rebuilding themselves stronger than before. Your mind works in exactly the same way. If you never ask it to stretch beyond the easy, it will remain fragile. But if you expose it to difficulty, complex books that force you to think, new skills that seem intimidating at first, problems that appear unsolvable, your brain resists at the beginning, but with each repetition it adapts and expands. Challenge is the training ground of the mind, and without it, your mental muscles will never grow. Do not confuse struggle with failure. The discomfort you feel when learning something new is not weakness. It is the signal that your brain is rewiring. That frustration, that confusion, that resistance, it is your mind breaking through its limits and carving new pathways. Yet this is where most people quit, because they mistake resistance for a wall. They say, "This is too hard, this is not for me." But the truth is that very resistance is the door to growth. If you stay with it long enough, if you push through the fog, suddenly clarity comes and your mind becomes sharper than it was before. The warriors of the mind are not the ones who avoid challenge, but the ones who seek it out. They understand that to remain sharp, the brain must be exposed to difficulty. Every great master, whether in philosophy, combat, or art, trained their mind by constantly forcing it beyond what it already knew. They did not settle for repeating the same lessons. They embraced new problems, new puzzles, new complexities. It is this deliberate exposure to the uncomfortable that created their brilliance. So I ask you, what are you doing to challenge your mind today? Are you reading something that forces you to stop and think deeply? Are you learning a skill that frustrates you but expands your abilities? Are you solving problems instead of running from them? If not, then you are not growing. You are stagnating. A stagnant mind is dangerous because it becomes restless, weak, and easily controlled by others. But a challenged mind becomes alive, disciplined, and unshakable. Understand this: comfort is not your friend. Comfort tells you to stay where you are, to avoid struggle, to settle. But challenge is the true companion of growth. It may not feel pleasant, but it sharpens you like a blade on stone. Each day, you must place your mind under some form of resistance, whether it is study, reflection, problem-solving, or practice. The more you challenge it, the more resilient it becomes, until one day you realize that the things that once frightened or confused you are now effortless. This is the secret of mental strength: to willingly place yourself in situations that test you, to see difficulty not as an enemy but as a teacher, and to understand that every challenge you face is an opportunity to rewire your brain into something stronger. Those who avoid it remain fragile forever. Those who embrace it become masters of themselves. 5. Control your inner dialogue. The most powerful voice you will ever hear in your life is not the voice of your teacher, not the voice of your enemy, not even the voice of your loved ones. It is the voice that speaks inside your own head. Your inner dialogue is the constant stream of thoughts, words, and beliefs you repeat to yourself every single day. Most people do not even realize how often this voice is sabotaging them because they have lived with it for so long that it feels normal. They carry it like background noise, but that noise shapes their entire reality. The truth is simple. What you say to yourself in silence, you eventually live out in action. If your inner voice is filled with weakness, telling you, "I cannot do this," "I am not enough," "I always fail," then your brain begins to accept those phrases as commands. It wires itself to act in alignment with them because the brain does not know the difference between what is real and what is repeated with enough conviction. It obeys whatever story it hears the most often. That is why so many people remain stuck. They have allowed their inner dialogue to become their prison. Every time they face an opportunity, their mind whispers that they are not worthy. Every time they face difficulty, their mind convinces them to give up. They never notice that their enemy is not outside, it is within. But just as your inner dialogue can destroy you, it can also build you. The moment you take control of that voice, you take control of your destiny. If you speak to yourself with strength, if you say, "I am capable, I will endure, I will overcome," then your brain wires itself toward resilience and action. It begins to expect victory instead of defeat. It begins to search for solutions instead of excuses. You reprogram your mind with the language of power, and slowly but surely, your actions follow. This is not empty motivation, it is biology. The words you use create emotions, emotions create decisions, and decisions create your life. Think of it this way. Your brain is like a garden, and your thoughts are the seeds. If you constantly plant weeds, negative self-talk, doubt, fear, then weeds will grow, choking out your potential. But if you plant strong seeds, confidence, discipline, courage, then those will grow, and in time they will become the dominant plants in your mental landscape. But just like a garden, you must tend to it daily. You cannot say something powerful once and expect it to last. You must water it with repetition, cut away the weeds of negativity, and keep planting the seeds of strength until your mind is overflowing with them. This is why discipline in language is so important. Do not allow careless words to pass your lips, even in private, because your brain hears them and takes them as commands. If you constantly joke about being lazy, weak, or unlucky, you are telling your subconscious that this is your identity. Instead, guard your words like a warrior guards his weapon. Speak with intention. If you fall short, do not say, "I am a failure." Say, "I am learning, I am growing, I am preparing." If you face fear, do not say, "I cannot." Say, "I will try, I will endure, I will overcome." Slowly, your brain rewires itself to expect strength where it once expected weakness. Do not mistake this practice for arrogance or blind optimism. Controlling your inner dialogue is not about lying to yourself. It is about choosing the story you want to live. Life will always test you, and you will always face doubt. But the difference between a man who breaks and a man who rises is the conversation happening inside his mind. The one who feeds his brain weakness collapses. The one who feeds it strength grows stronger with every test. So I tell you this, listen carefully to your inner voice. Observe it. Is it building you, or is it breaking you? If it is breaking you, then you must silence it and replace it. Do not allow your mind to be your enemy. Train it daily to be your ally, your coach, your commander. The man who controls his inner dialogue controls his destiny, because he is no longer a victim of thought. He is the master of thought. And once you master thought, nothing outside of you can defeat you. 6. Turn pain into power. Pain is a part of life that no one can escape. Every man, no matter how strong, no matter how disciplined, will face moments of heartbreak, failure, rejection, betrayal, or loss. The question is never if pain will come. It is always when and how you will respond. Most people see pain as an enemy. They run from it, they drown in it, or they let it harden them into bitterness. But you must learn to look at pain differently. Pain is not just suffering, it is energy. And energy, if you train your mind, can always be transformed. The choice you face is simple. Will you let pain destroy you, or will you convert it into the fuel that builds you stronger than you were before? When you experience pain, your mind records it deeply. Pain is powerful because it leaves scars, and those scars carry lessons. The problem is that most people never learn from them. They repeat the same mistakes. They hold on to anger, and they remain stuck in the same cycle. But when you rewire your brain to see pain as a teacher, something changes. You no longer ask, "Why me?" You begin asking, "What is this teaching me? How can I use this to become more powerful?" Suddenly, the same pain that once crushed you becomes the force that lifts you. The rejection you faced becomes motivation to sharpen your craft. The betrayal you endured becomes wisdom that protects you in the future. The loss you suffered becomes the reminder to value what you still have. Pain becomes a sculptor, shaping you into someone sharper, stronger, and more resilient. Think of the body. When you train, when you push your muscles beyond their limits, you experience pain. That pain is not a signal of weakness. It is a sign that your muscles are breaking down only so they can rebuild stronger. Without that pain, there is no growth. The same principle applies to the brain. When life tests you, when you suffer, your brain is given the chance to rewire itself. You either wire it with fear, despair, and avoidance, or you wire it with strength, resilience, and courage. Every time you endure, every time you rise after being knocked down, you are literally teaching your brain, "I can survive. I can overcome. I am unbreakable." Pain also teaches humility. It strips away illusion, comfort, and pride, reminding you that life is fragile and nothing is guaranteed. Many people avoid this truth, but the man who accepts it becomes fearless, because he is no longer shocked by suffering. He expects it, and he uses it. To transform pain into power, you must train yourself not to react with anger or despair, but with awareness. When something hurts, pause and ask yourself, "How can this serve me? How can I turn this wound into wisdom?" That shift in thinking is what separates the broken from the unbreakable. I have often said that defeat is not defeat unless it is accepted as reality in your own mind. The same is true with pain. It is not permanent unless you decide it is. You can choose to let it crush you, or you can choose to use it as fire. The broken heart can either keep you afraid of love forever, or it can teach you what true loyalty and respect should feel like. The failure in your work can either make you give up, or it can ignite the determination to master your craft so deeply that failure no longer has power over you. Pain can close your spirit, or it can open it to new strength you never knew you had. Understand this clearly. No pain is wasted if you use it. Every scar, every loss, every trial can be transformed into wisdom, discipline, and power. When you rewire your brain to see pain not as punishment but as preparation, you begin to realize that life is shaping you through struggle. The greatest warriors are not those who never suffer. They are those who suffer and transform. They are the ones who take pain and forge it into a weapon. So the next time pain enters your life, do not run. Do not ask, "Why me?" Instead, face it with calm strength and ask, "What is this teaching me? How can I use this to rise higher?" Because the man who learns to turn pain into power cannot be defeated. Life may wound him, but each wound only adds to his strength, and eventually he becomes unshakable, not because pain never touched him, but because pain became the fire that forged his spirit. 7. Detach from distractions. The greatest thief of your potential is not lack of talent, not lack of opportunity, and not even lack of discipline. It is distraction. In this modern world, distractions are everywhere, They are carefully designed, crafted to capture your attention, to pull you in, to keep you hooked. Every beep of a phone, every scroll through endless feeds, every meaningless conversation. These are not harmless habits. They are weapons that drain your focus, weaken your mind, and steal the very life force you need to build yourself. Distraction is not simply wasted time. It is wasted energy, wasted potential, wasted life. If you cannot control your attention, you cannot control your destiny. Your brain is like a river of energy, and wherever that river flows, growth follows. If the river is constantly split into 1,000 streams, some flowing to noise, some flowing to trivial entertainment, some flowing to other people's problems, then the power of that river is lost. It becomes shallow, scattered, unable to move anything of substance. But if you learn to direct the full force of that river toward one path, then nothing can resist it. Mountains crumble before rivers that flow with force, but scattered streams dry up in the sun. This is the difference between the man who achieves greatness and the man who lives a wasted life. One directs his focus, the other surrenders it to distraction. To detach from distraction, you must first recognize that your attention is your most valuable currency. Every time you give it away to something meaningless, you are spending a part of your life that you will never get back. Most people guard their money but spend their attention carelessly, not realizing that money lost can be earned again, but time and focus, once gone, are gone forever. Your brain is constantly being rewired by whatever you give your attention to. If you give it to distractions, you are training your mind to be weak, restless, and scattered. But if you give it to meaningful, intentional pursuits, you are training your mind to be sharp, disciplined, and unstoppable. This is why you must create boundaries for yourself. Do not allow your phone to be the first thing you touch in the morning or the last thing you see before sleep. Do not allow your attention to be stolen by endless scrolling or shallow entertainment that adds nothing to your life. Instead, detach. Step away. Create space for silence. Walk without your phone. Sit in a room with nothing but your breath and your thoughts. At first, your brain will resist because it has been trained to crave distraction, to always seek stimulation. But with practice, that resistance fades, and you begin to feel a new kind of strength, the strength of focus, of presence, of calm.
Detachment does not mean you never use technology or enjoy leisure. It means you control it, not the other way around. It means you are aware of how easily your mind can be hijacked, and you refuse to let it happen. It means you decide when, where, and how you give your attention. When you detach from distractions, you discover something powerful. Time expands. What once felt like a blur of wasted hours becomes clear, structured, and intentional. You realize how much energy you have been throwing away on things that do not matter, and you begin to redirect it toward the things that do.
A warrior cannot afford to be distracted in battle, and you cannot afford to be distracted in life. The enemy may not always be another man. Sometimes it is the endless noise pulling at your mind. If you cannot command your attention, you will always be a prisoner of other people's agendas. But when you detach from distraction, when you reclaim your focus, you become the master of your mind once again. So remember this, your life will always follow your attention. If you scatter it across distractions, your life will feel scattered and empty. But if you focus it on growth, discipline, and mastery, your life will reflect that power. Detach from distractions daily. Guard your attention as fiercely as you would guard your life, because in truth, they are one and the same. 8. Visualize with precision. Before any great achievement appears in the physical world, it first exists in the unseen world of the mind. Every strike I ever delivered, every movement that seemed effortless in combat, was practiced not only with my body, but thousands of times in my imagination. I did not step into the ring and hope my body would respond. I had already seen it, felt it, and lived it in my mind long before the fight ever began. This is the power of visualization. When you learn to visualize with precision, you begin to rewire your brain for success before success even arrives. Your brain does not distinguish clearly between what is vividly imagined and what is physically experienced. Neuroscience now confirms what martial artists and philosophers have known for centuries. When you imagine something with detail and emotion, your brain fires the same neural pathways as if you were truly doing it. This means that every time you visualize yourself performing with mastery, overcoming difficulty, or achieving greatness, you are literally building the pathways that make those things possible. In other words, you train twice, once in the mind and once in reality. Those who only train physically are half prepared. Those who train mentally and physically are complete. But visualization is not daydreaming. It is not vague hope. It is not saying, I want to be successful without form, detail, or clarity. Visualization must be precise, sharp, and disciplined, just like a warrior's strike. If you wish to succeed, you must see it in your mind so clearly that it feels real. Picture the scene in detail, the place, the people, the sounds, even the emotions you will feel. If you are preparing for a performance, imagine yourself walking onto the stage, feeling calm and confident, hearing the crowd, delivering your words with strength. If you are training your body, imagine the exact movements, the rhythm of your breath, the feeling of power flowing through your muscles. The more precise your visualization, the more deeply your brain accepts it as reality. Emotion is the key. Visualization without emotion is empty, but when you attach feeling to it, your brain wires it in more powerfully. If you see yourself succeeding and you feel the pride, the discipline, the energy as though it were happening right now, then your brain begins to expect that success. It is no longer a wish, it becomes a familiar state. And when the real moment arrives, you step into it not as a stranger, but as someone who has already lived it 1,000 times. This is why athletes, warriors, and masters of every craft use visualization. It makes the unfamiliar familiar and the impossible possible. I remember practicing strikes in my mind with such detail that by the time I faced my opponent, it felt as though I was only repeating what I had already done. There was no hesitation, no doubt, because my brain had already walked the path. This is the secret of mastery. The battle is won in the mind before it is ever fought in reality. Visualization also serves another purpose. It aligns your brain with your goals. Too often, people speak of what they want, but their mind is filled with images of failure, fear, and defeat. They say, I want to succeed, yet they constantly imagine themselves stumbling, being rejected, or giving up. Without realizing it, they are wiring their brain for failure. But when you consciously replace those images with precise visualizations of success, you train your brain to move toward those images. Your subconscious begins to seek ways to turn them into reality. It pushes you to act in alignment with the future you have already seen. So I tell you this, make visualization a daily practice. Each morning before the world has the chance to distract you, close your eyes and see the life you are building. Not in vague terms, but in detail. See the discipline, the strength, the victories. Feel them as though they are real. Then carry that image into your day and act as though you are simply walking towards something you have already lived. Over time, you will find that your reality begins to mirror your vision because your brain has been rewired to accept nothing less. Remember, the man who sees clearly in his mind will move with certainty in the world. He will not stumble blindly because his brain has already walked the path of success. Visualization is not fantasy. It is preparation. It is the silent training ground where warriors are forged. Use it daily and you will discover that the life you imagine with precision is the life you eventually live with power. 9. Practice daily stillness. In a world that never stops moving, stillness becomes a forgotten art. Everywhere you look, people are running, rushing, scrolling, speaking, reacting. Their minds are like oceans in storm. Waves crashing against each other, restless, chaotic, never at peace. They mistake movement for progress and noise for strength, but in truth they are only scattering their energy and weakening their focus. A man who never allows his mind to rest becomes like a blade that is constantly used but never sharpened. Eventually it grows dull. This is why daily stillness is not a luxury. It is a necessity if you wish to master your mind. Stillness does not mean doing nothing. Stillness is training. It is discipline. It is the act of sitting with yourself without distraction and allowing the storm inside to settle. At first, it is difficult. The moment you try to be still, your brain will fight back. Thoughts will come rushing in, demanding your attention. Memories, worries, doubts, and endless chatter will rise, trying to pull you away from silence. Most people cannot endure this for even a few minutes. They panic when the noise in their head grows loud, and so they reach again for distraction. But the warrior learns to stay. He does not run from the storm. He sits within it until it passes. When you practice daily stillness, you are rewiring your brain to be calm under pressure. You are teaching it that not every thought needs a reaction. Not every emotion needs to control you. Not every problem needs to consume you immediately. You are separating yourself from the chaos, and in that separation, you find clarity. Suddenly, you can see your thoughts as they are, passing clouds, not permanent truths. The anger that once consumed you appears and fades. The fear that once paralyzed you rises and dissolves. The more you practice this, the stronger your mental discipline becomes. Think of stillness like sharpening a blade. If you never stop to sharpen, your strikes will grow weak, no matter how many times you swing. But if you pause each day, even for a short time, to sit in silence and breathe, you restore your sharpness. You strengthen your ability to cut through the noise of life with clarity and precision. Many believe that strength comes from constant action, but I tell you, true strength comes from knowing when to be still. For a mind that can remain unmoved in silence can remain unmoved in chaos. Daily stillness also reconnects you with yourself. In silence, you hear your true voice, not the voices of the world. You begin to notice what truly matters and what does not. The endless distractions that seemed urgent before lose their grip on you. You realize that peace does not come from controlling the outside world. It comes from mastering the inside. A man who is still inside can walk into storms and remain calm. He can face enemies and remain focused. He can endure pain and remain unbroken. You do not need hours of silence to begin. Start with a few minutes. Sit each day, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and simply observe. Do not try to fight your thoughts. Do not try to force silence. Just watch. With practice, the noise will soften, the storm will calm, and beneath it, you will discover a deeper layer of your mind, a place that is still, clear, and unshakable. The more often you visit that place, the easier it becomes to return there in moments of stress and conflict. Stillness is the training ground for presence. It is what allows you to remain centered when life pushes you, what allows you to remain disciplined when others lose control, what allows you to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. Without stillness, you are a slave to your emotions. With stillness, you are their master. So I tell you, do not neglect this practice. Every day, no matter how busy, no matter how loud the world becomes, give yourself the gift of silence. Sit in stillness. Breathe. Let your mind sharpen. In that quiet, you will discover that peace is not something you must chase. It is something you create. And once you carry that stillness within you, nothing outside can disturb it. The man who practices daily stillness is not only calm, he is unbreakable. 10. Live with relentless discipline. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many see it as harshness, restriction, or punishment. They think discipline is about denying yourself joy, about living in chains, about saying no to life. But this is the wrong understanding. Discipline is not prison. Discipline is freedom. A man without discipline is controlled by his impulses, his emotions, and his distractions. He is pulled in every direction. And though he may think he is free, he is in fact a slave, enslaved to moods, temptations, and weakness. But the man who lives with discipline is free because he is no longer ruled by the chaos of the mind. He commands himself. He chooses his path with clarity. He does not drift, he directs. Your brain is wired by repetition. Whatever you do daily, whatever you repeat again and again, becomes your habit. And your habits eventually become your character. If you wake late every day, if you avoid challenge, if you waste time in distraction, your brain wires itself to accept that as normal. But if you rise with purpose, train your body, sharpen your mind, and focus on growth, your brain wires itself for strength, precision, and mastery. This is why discipline is so powerful. It is the tool by which you shape the very architecture of your brain. You are not simply doing tasks. You are carving pathways of strength that will carry you for life. Relentless discipline means you do not wait for motivation. Motivation is fragile. It comes and goes like the wind. If you depend on it, you will live inconsistently, strong one day, weak the next. But discipline is not emotion. It is decision. It is a promise you make to yourself that you will act, whether you feel like it or not. It is rising early even when your body craves more sleep. It is training when your mind whispers excuses. It is sitting in silence when distraction tempts you. Discipline is the bridge between who you are now and who you want to become. Without it, that bridge does not exist. With it, there is nothing you cannot cross. Most men break because they confuse comfort with happiness. They believe that giving in to ease is freedom, but freedom without discipline becomes destruction. Too much comfort weakens the mind, weakens the body, and weakens the spirit. Discipline is what sharpens you against that softness. It is the fire that forges steel. And yes, at first it burns. At first it feels heavy. But over time you begin to crave it because you see what it produces. Clarity, strength, self-respect. The man who lives with discipline looks in the mirror and sees someone he can trust, someone he can respect, someone he can rely on. That is the true reward of discipline, trust in yourself. Understand this: the greatest victories are not won on the battlefield or in the arena. They are won in the quiet moments when no one is watching. When you rise early and train, when you read instead of wasting time, when you stay consistent when others quit. These moments, invisible to the world, are where your brain is being rewired. They are where you are building the inner strength that will carry you through storms. No one applauds discipline in the moment, but later everyone sees its results. Relentless discipline also means you do not stop when you are tired. You stop when you are finished. It means you do not wait for the perfect moment. You create it by acting now. It means you do not let small failures break you. You use them as fuel to push harder. Discipline is not about never falling. It is about never staying down. Each time you return, each time you persist, you are telling your brain, I am in control. I will not give up. And the more often you repeat that, the stronger your mental wiring becomes. So do not fear discipline. Embrace it. Make it your companion, your ally, your way of life. Begin small if you must, but begin. Build habits of strength, one brick at a time, until they form the foundation of your character. With relentless discipline, you no longer depend on chance, luck, or mood. You know who you are, and you know what you will do, no matter what the world throws at you. A man without discipline is like a boat without a rudder, tossed aimlessly by the waves. But a man with discipline is like a warrior with a blade, sharp, focused, and unshakable. And remember this always: a person who is not disciplined in their mind will always remain a slave to it. But the one who masters discipline becomes the master of himself, and therefore the master of life. You have now seen 10 powerful ways to rewire your brain daily. 10 practices that, if applied with consistency, will transform not only how you think, but how you live, how you fight, how you endure, and how you succeed. These are not theories to admire. They are disciplines to embody. They are the daily sharpening of your greatest weapon, the mind. Think carefully about what we have uncovered. If you rule your mornings, you win the rhythm of your days. If you feed your brain with strength instead of poison, you build a mental diet that sustains you for life. If you train focus as a muscle, you will command your attention when others scatter theirs. If you challenge your mind daily, you will grow sharper and stronger while others grow dull. If you control your inner dialogue, you will silence the enemy within and make your mind your ally. If you turn pain into power, nothing in life will ever truly defeat you. If you detach from distractions, you will reclaim the time and energy most people never even realize they are losing. If you visualize with precision, you will live your victories in the mind before they appear in reality. If you practice daily stillness, you will discover a center inside you that cannot be shaken by chaos. And if you live with relentless discipline, you will walk the path of mastery, untouchable, unbreakable, unstoppable. Understand this truth: greatness is not built in one dramatic moment. It is not the result of one big opportunity or one sudden burst of strength. Greatness is built in the small daily choices you make with your mind. Every thought, every action, every moment of discipline is a brick, and with enough bricks, you build a fortress inside yourself that nothing can tear down. Rewiring your brain is not about waiting for life to change. It is about taking command of your mind so that life cannot help but follow. Do not wait for tomorrow is never promised. Begin today. Take even one of these practices and live it. Let it become part of you. Then add another, then another. Soon, you will realize that you no longer have to fight your brain. It has become your ally. It no longer controls you. You control it. And with that control, there is no obstacle too great, no enemy too strong, no storm too violent. Absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is uniquely your own. Train your mind as you train your body, with daily practice, with relentless discipline, with courage. For the one who masters his mind has already mastered life. And when you rewire your brain daily, you are not simply preparing to face the world. You are preparing to become someone the world cannot bend. The choice is yours. Train your mind, rewire it, master it, and in doing so, master yourself.